What's up, guys? Ryan, my name here. Those of you who have been fans of the channel for a while know that my dad passed away in November of 2018, and I think you guys know that I haven't been posting a lot recently, and the reason for that is that my mom passed away in July of this year. Yeah, I've lost both my parents in the past 2 years or so. Um, so where I'm at right now is definitely, had to mourn her loss, and now I'm dealing with a lot of the finances and the will and getting the family together during COVID. It's a lot. I'm gonna try to put out some videos. There's some things that I'm working on, but I'm not gonna be putting out probably as much as I would like to. Definitely going to be taking a little bit of a break. Um, but I kind of wanted to do this video because um, both my parents were amazing people. I did a video kind of remembering my dad, and it was actually really good. It was really cathartic for me, and I wanted to do it for my mom as well. It just was really tough. Like, I've tried to do this video a dozen times, and I think every time I had to stop because it was just too difficult. But I think it's important because I know that a lot of people, when something bad happens, they kind of want to retreat because they're feeling vulnerable. They don't want to put their feelings out there. Um, but I don't think that's the right thing to do. I think that you got to share this type of stuff because everybody goes through this. Everybody at some point in their life is going to lose a parent or a loved one or just someone who's really important to them. So this is kind of a universal experience that we all will feel or have felt at some point in our life. Um, yeah, I just wanted to share like who my mom was because she definitely deserves being remembered. She was absolutely an amazing woman, a real role model for me, and definitely kind of like put me on the path of like what type of women I want in my life. And I think that I've surrounded myself with a lot of really amazing people. And my parents are definitely, the reason for that. My mom was the fifth of seven children. She had a big, Irish Catholic family, grew up on the East Coast. Um, she played sports all throughout like high school and college. And this was like in like the 50s and the 60s when, girls playing sports was still like really taboo. But her father was really cool. My grandfather, he wanted, the girls to be treated just the same as the boys. He really didn't, buy into a lot of this, separate gender roles type of stuff. So you guess you could say he was very forward thinking. But he wanted all of his girls to play sports. He wanted all of his girls to get an education. He wanted them to be self sufficient, all of that type of stuff. So my mom was very involved in the civil rights movement and the women's rights movements during the 1960s. Um, and she was a champion of mental health. I think we're kind of realizing now in 2020 how important mental health is, and my mom was fighting that fight back in the 1960s. That's how important it was. Both my parents were really involved in mental health and treating head injuries and that type of stuff. So yeah, they really were kind of like ahead of their time. It was really kind of interesting growing up, seeing the world change, and all the stuff that they told me, was kind of coming true. That we weren't treating mental health correctly, we weren't treating head injuries correctly. There's a lot of people with undiagnosed PTSD in the world, and it affects our world. You see a lot of first responders, military members that have PTSD and they never get it treated, and it results in a lot more bad things happening. So, my mom also got her PhD in the 1980s. So, this is still, when women really weren't doing it. She really was kind of, a rebel and kind of, a pathfinder. She really was kind of like making the trail for women to follow in her footsteps. And yeah, she did it when after I was born. So she got a PhD after I was born, which is even harder. Being a mother, going back and getting your PhD. So she assisted stroke patients in recovery. That's what she did some of her initial work on. She worked with children in juvenile detention facilities, trying to help them through a lot of the issues that they were having. She provided counseling to HIV positive people during the 1980s when HIV was a death sentence. So she provided a lot of counseling for the LGBT community, and this was even during the time when people didn't know how HIV was transmitted. There was a lot of bad data and conspiracy theories going around that you could transmit it by touch and things like that. But she read the data and knew that obviously it was only bloodborne. So she was kind of really instrumental in helping those people in the San Francisco Bay Area. And my mom was in private practice with my dad for nearly 40 years, and they had thousands and thousands and thousands of patients. They specialized in helping people recover from head injuries, helping people with trauma, helping people who had learning disabilities, and helping people who were also gifted and didn't really know how to use their gifts properly. But yeah, I've received just like an amazing amount of outpouring from their patients, just like trying to tell me how amazing my parents were. Um, so yeah, you can see that they were very impressive. They had a lot of things going for them. They accomplished an incredible amount in their life, and with all those accomplishments, you think that they would be workaholics, um, but they weren't. Like I don't know how they did it, but they were always there whenever something important was going on in my life. Every single game, every single play, every single science fair, every single parent teachers conference, every award, every graduation. They were there. Like they made it a priority that they would always make sure that they were there for those important parts of my life. And I don't know how they did it, but somehow they made it happen. Um, but one of the things that kind of sticks with me even now, this is something that I kind of want to impart to you guys because I think it's really important. I think it's one of those like fundamental kind of unspoken truths. But my mom always taught me. She always like said to me whenever things were difficult, she was like, "Don't do good because you're accepting a reward. Do good because it's the right thing to do." And that's like, if I give you guys like any type of advice, that's what it would be: is you should never do good because you're expecting a reward, because sometimes you're not going to get a reward for doing the right thing. Um, yeah, and yeah, just always do the right thing. Whatever you perceive the right thing to be, don't do it because you're accepting a reward, and don't anticipate you're going to get a reward. Just do good for good's sake. Good things will happen to you if you do that. I've tried to kind of like live my life by that, and I feel like my life is pretty damn good right now. Obviously, I've had bad things happen to me, but I do feel like I'm very blessed. Um, you know, where I'm at. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that, no matter what, I always tried to do good. I always tried to, um, not think about like what would get me by the best or what would get me, further ahead than another person. I always just tried to, be nice, be kind, be good, that type of stuff. And, obviously, you know, there's plenty of mistakes that I made and I've been an asshole to people in the past, but in general, I try to do good and I think it's done well for me. I'm not sure if I believe in karma, but it does seem like, at least for me, it's paid off. Every single time I've done something good, it comes back in a way that benefits me as well. Um, the other big thing is that my parents taught me, especially my mom, was that it's okay to fail. Like failing is normal, and failing is good a lot of times. Like if you fail, that's a chance for you to learn. That's a chance for you to grow. That's a chance for you to improve. And that was something that my mom always kind of preached to me is whenever you fall, like you pick yourself back up again and figure out why you fell, and then just move on and be better. Um, and yeah, that's something I kind of live my life by. I always try to get just a little bit better every single day. It doesn't have to be, you don't do like huge leaps and bounds. It's just little tiny baby steps every day. And if you do that consistently every day, then over a long period of time, you'll see a huge growth in who you are. Um, yeah, that's my mom. That's some of her, life lessons, and she was definitely a very intelligent, very wise woman. And I miss her so much right now. Like, it's been months, and I still miss both of them. Um, but yeah, a lot of this I wanted to do not just for me, but also for other people. Um, One thing that I noticed was that, you know, after the death of my dad, I felt like that would have prepared me for the death of my mom, and I have to say that it didn't, because their passings were very different. My dad was just stubborn to a fault, and he was kicking and grumbling and being his normal grumpy self, um, up until the last minutes. Like it literally was. He went in for blood work and they told him he had to go to the hospital, and he was like, I'm not going to the hospital. And eventually my mom convinced him to go to the hospital, but they thought it was just something small, something minor. And within 72 hours of him having that blood work done, he was dead. That's how quick it was. By the time I got up there, he was already um non-responsive. I talked to him as much as I could, but I never got to actually like talk to him. He basically was nonverbal from the time I got there. So yeah, that was a very different experience than how it went with my mom, because my mom was much more gradual. Um, so what happened was we bought a house, specifically because I was worried about my mom, because she was all alone up in Northern California and we were in Southern California, and I wanted to get her down here so that we wanted her to still be independent, but we wanted her to be closer so that way we could, if something went wrong, we could take care of her. So we bought a house that had like a pool house, like a casita, an in-law suite, whatever you want to call it. And my mom moved in there, and things were good for maybe a month or so, and then her health just took a massive decline, and that was very surprising to us because the doctors told us that she had 5 or 10 years with her cancer. They weren't worried about it, and they actually, a lot of them thought that she was going to die of something else before she was going to die of the cancer. But that's the thing with cancer, is you never can guarantee what's going to happen. And within a few months, they told her that there was nothing they could do, and that they recommended her be on hospice. And hospice, is, if you don't know, is for people where you're no longer trying to fight the cancer, you're just trying to minimize the symptoms, you're trying to minimize pain, you're trying to maximize quality of life, but you basically have accepted that the cancer is not going away, and that you're just trying to enjoy what little time you have left. And when they gave that recommendation for hospice, they estimated that my mom had only about 3 weeks to live, which was kind of a huge shock to me, especially considering that just a couple weeks prior they were saying 5 to 10 years, and now they were saying 3 weeks. Um, but we did everything we could, and I tried to take on almost like a primary caregiver role for my mom. We got a lot of help from a hospice organization who brought nurses in and helped us. I was giving my mom all of her meds. I was making sure she was getting meals. I was helping her, get into the shower and go to the bathroom and stuff like that. All the things that people don't like to talk about, but that's what happens at the end of life. Is that you really have to help your loved one in a lot of different ways. Um, and I guess I can say that I'm proud to say that my mom ended up living almost 3 months. So she basically greatly exceeded the expectations that they had. They didn't think she was going to last a month, and she lasted 3 months instead. Um, so yeah, I feel kind of proud that we were able to do that, that I was able to, help her and extend her quality of life. And I know that, for the vast majority of it, she wasn't in pain. Like she didn't have to take morphine or any type of painkillers until the very end. It was only maybe the last week or so, where we had to give her morphine because of the pain. So I think that we did our best to try and maximize her quality of life. Um, and the death itself was really weird. It was really kind of surreal. Um, I woke up that day, and I just knew that today was the day that my mom was gonna die. I don't really know how I knew. I just knew. It was just kind of, I don't know what you want to call it, but I just knew. And I kind of, my uncle was staying with us, and my wife was there, and I told both of them. I said, "Hey, like today's the day. You got to say your goodbyes." Um, and nothing was really left unsaid. We kind of all took our turns. We all, told her how much we loved her, how proud of her we were, how much of an inspiration she was. Um, and then my mom, before, like, when my dad was dying, she had told me that there was particular songs that she wanted us to play when she was close to death, like kind of like to kind of take her into the afterlife. There was her favorite songs, and they were the last four songs by Strauss, sung by Jesse Norman. So if you haven't ever heard those, Jesse Norman was my mom's favorite singer. He's got a beautiful voice, like classical opera style of voice, and she's considered to be one of the best singers in modern history. But yeah, we played those songs for her, and it was almost like clockwork. As soon as the songs were done and everybody had said what they needed to say, it was almost instantaneous, and my mom passed like really peacefully. Um, yeah, and it was hard. It's never gonna be easy. Um, I hope that me sharing this helps those who have also lost loved ones and realizing that you're not alone, that this happens to everyone, right? Everyone is going to experience this. Um, so I know that, you know, when you're sitting there in the hospital bed and you're holding their hand, you feel alone. And you're not. That's kind of the big thing that I want you guys to take away. You're not alone. And for those who have already been through this, I hope that this also helps you a little bit. Um, yeah, just don't leave anything unsaid. If you've got loved ones, tell them how much you love them. Especially with the holidays coming up, especially with a lot of COVID and all the other stuff that's going on. You never know how much time you have, so be sure to make sure that your loved ones know how much you care about them this holiday season. So, yeah, it's rough. It's kind of hard to kind of really describe how I feel. There are days when I feel great. There are days when I feel horrible, and that's just how it is. Um, if I could kind of, I think the best analogy I can give is that there's four key people that are in my life. It'd be my parents, my wife, and my best friend. And I almost think of them as like the four legs of a chair, right? And my entire like life is, sitting upon that chair. And I feel like I've lost two of those legs of the chair. So I feel like, my chair is very unstable right now, right? Thankfully, my wife has been incredibly supportive. My friends have been incredibly supportive. My in-laws have been incredibly supportive. Um, so yeah, I feel like I'm constantly trying to balance myself. It's not like I feel stable. I feel very unstable right now, and it's taking a lot of additional effort for me to just try and stabilize my life and make sure that I'm well balanced, that I'm sleeping the right amount and eating the right amount, and taking time off of work, because when something like this happens, it's very easy for you to go to the extremes. Like either you like work absurd hours to try and like block it all out, or you sleep too much, you sleep too little, you eat too much, you eat too little. So yeah, there's been a lot of effort just trying to make sure that I stay balanced and that I don't go off the deep end one way or the other. So, um, yeah, I think that on reflection, like one of the big things that I've taken away is like how quickly life can change, right? I thought I had 5 or 10 years left with my mom, and it turned out I only had a few weeks. Um, so yeah, I've been kind of reflecting a lot upon my life. My entire life, I've just been an absolute workhorse. Like 100-hour work weeks are pretty common for me all throughout, especially during my 20s. I was um, just crazy workaholic, and I've done well for myself because of that, right? I'm very thankful that I did work that hard in my 20s, but now that I'm 35, now I have to kind of think about like, okay, like it's not good enough just to work all the time. It's like, what am I working towards, right? Like there's no point in working that hard if you don't have a goal that you're trying to reach. So that's really have what I've been kind of doing, is just kind of reflecting on my life and trying to figure out like, where do I want to be in 5 years or 10 years or 20 years? Like, what am I trying to go towards? And obviously I want to start a family. I want to have a stable career. I want to be able to relax in my house. I want to be able to go on trips and not worry about money. All those things that are kind of standard. Um, and now it kind of feels like, yeah, I'm kind of at a crossroads where I'm kind of thinking, okay, maybe it's time that I need to just take a step back for a little bit, not work myself crazy amounts, and just go from there, essentially. So yeah, I will be putting out some videos, but I'm not gonna be working myself to the bone like I've done in previous times, and we'll go from there. I just you know with all of this, now I just have a fear that I don't want to die of a heart attack when I'm 60. So um yeah, that's kind of my thoughts. I know I've kind of rambled for a while, but big takeaways that I have for you guys are, you know, don't do good because you're expecting a reward. Do good because it's the right thing to do. Don't be afraid to fail. If you fail, that is good. It helps you get stronger. It helps you learn something new about yourself. If you're going through a rough time, understand that you're never alone. There's plenty of people, regardless of what you're going through, there are plenty of people that have gone through that same thing. So reach out, find people who have been through what you've been through, and they can help you find how you can recover. Um, you know, prioritize mental health. Everybody likes to neglect their mental health, but mental health is just as important as physical health. Um, yeah. So, take care of yourself. You know, tell your loved ones that you love them. So, yeah, I hope you guys have a fantastic day. This is Randomonium, signing off.